Hello friends, my name is Shaurya Jaiswal and I'm a student of Political Science Honours of Shamlal College Evening. Today in this video I will be explaining about Aristotle's theory of communism. So before I start, I'll request everyone to first go through all the previous videos of my friends which they have made on Aristotle's different theories. So once you have a clear information about that, then only we'll understand what is Aristotle's theory of communism. So, without any further ado, I'll request everyone to listen to me and then I'll start with Aristotle's theory of communism. Aristotle. Aristotle is known as father of political science. So, since we are studying political science, it is very important for all of us to understand who Aristotle is. So, I hope I'm repeating this again. I hope you have gone through the previous videos. So, Aristotle, father of political science. Two of the most important books of Aristotle is Nicomachean Ethics and Politics. So all his theories like theory of forms, theory of citizenship, he has basically given in his second book, that is Politics. So we'll look at theory of communism, which is given in Politics. See, we all know that Aristotle was not only the biggest disciple of Plato, but he's also the biggest critique of Plato. And Aristotle's theory of communism is no exception. Why I'm saying that is because Aristotle's theory of communism, it is basically a critique of Plato's theory of communism. So, before understanding Aristotle's theory of communism, what we need to understand is Plato's communism. So let me start with first, what is communism? What do you understand by communism? See, the word communism, it denotes common ownership. Communism is basically a system which abolishes private ownership of family and property both. So we'll see that Plato, he proposes communism of property and family because he believes that property, it can lead to corruption, and family, it can lead to nepotism. That is why he says that property and family has corrupting influence, and hence it hampers the ability of philosopher king to do justice. We all know that Plato is a perfectionist. So Plato wanted to create an ideal state. So Plato, he does not want it to take any chance, and that is why he goes for this additional safeguard of communism of property and family. So why basically this additional safeguard was required? See, because a philosopher king is man of reason, he is also having passions, because every person has three elements. The soul of every person has three elements: reason, courage, and passion. So in philosopher king, reason dominates, but it does not mean that he does not have appetite. It does not mean that he does not have passion. So to we all know that it is to err is a human, means to commit a crime, it's human. We all commit crime. So it is possible that even philosopher king can commit a crime. So in Plato's ideal state, guardian class, they will not be allowed to possess private property and private family. So let us look at his concept of communism of family first. See, communism of family, it also includes communism of marriage, wives and children. So what is basically communism of marriage? See, communism of marriage means who will be allowed to marry whom and who will be allowed to marry, in fact, that will be decided by state. मतलब कौन किससे शादी करेगा एंड किसको शादी करना अलाउड होगा, दैट विल बी डिसाइडेड बाई स्टेट. दिस मीन्स दैट इससे हमें ये पता चलता है कि पर्सनल स्पेयर में भी देयर इज नो फ्रीडम, एंड दिस इज वन ऑफ द रीजन वी कॉल प्लेटो एज टोटलिटेरियन. सो नाउ वी लुक एट वाई स्टेट्स कंट्रोल इवन मैरिज. क्यों स्टेट कंट्रोल करता है मैरिज को? बिकॉज प्लेटो का मानना है इट हैज़ यूजेनिक पर्पज, मीन्स इट इज़ रिलेटेड टू जेनेटिक. See, earliest example of genetic engineering we can see over here. See, Plato, he's a perfectionist, and as perfectionist, Plato, he wants to create an ideal state. He basically wants to create a perfect state. So Plato's perfect state must include perfect man and perfect women. So perfect men and women means state will pick up the ablest of Greek men and the ablest of Greek women, and they will marry, and this will result into the birth of ablest child. This shows also the traces of racism or ethnocentrism in Plato. Somewhere there was a concept of superior race, and therefore at times Plato is also called as first fascist. So in communism of family, communism of marriage, because it has eugenic purpose, and the purpose makes Plato as racist and fascist, which I have already discussed. And communism of family also means that children will be under the custody of state. It means once a child is born, after some time the child will be taken up by the state. And what is the implication of this? इसका implication क्या होगा? Basically, the mother, she will be free from the responsibility of upbringing the child. It means that women can afford to join public life and thus we can see Plato as first feminist. And because communism also tackles the problem of nepotism. So because child is taken in the custody of state very early, so the ruler will not know who is his child is. So they cannot do favoritism or nepotism. The result of this will be that the philosopher king will treat every child as their own. We'll look at Plato's critique of communism, and in this manner we'll look at Aristotle's theory of communism. So one of the most ardent critique of Plato's communism is Aristotle. See, Plato, he is very radical in his ideas and he aims to bring far-reaching changes. But whereas Aristotle, he is conservative. So Plato is basically extreme in his ideas, whereas Aristotle, he follows the middle path. Middle path of Aristotle is also known as the golden path or the golden mean. See, for Aristotle, moderation, that is the right way of life. Aristotle accepts that private family and property is the cause of corruption. If they have negative impact, they also have positive impacts. So when we abolish property and family, then we deprive ourselves from the benefit of the private property and the family they give. So Aristotle suggests to find the middle path and follow the middle path. Aristotle का basically ये मानना है कि Plato's diagnosis of the problem is correct. Means Plato's understanding of the problem is correct, but Plato's prescription is wrong. Means Aristotle believes that medicines, they cannot be worse than disease itself. So Aristotle says that property is the source of vice, but at the same time, property is also virtue. So what are the virtues of property and how to deal with the vices of property according to Aristotle? That we are going to see now. So virtues of private property or Aristotle's theory of property. Basically, criticism of Plato's theory of property is Aristotle's theory of property. So criticism of Plato's theory. What is Plato's theory of property? Plato, he regards property as evil and as a source of corruption. So in order to ensure that ruling class does not go corrupt, Plato suggests communism of property as an additional safeguard, so that ruling class is not allowed to keep property. So now we look at Aristotle's perspective on property. He is conservative, as I've already told you all, and he's not radical like Plato. So why he wants to preserve property? Because he believes that property also has some utility. What is the utility of private property? Or what are the virtues of private property? See, private property, it gives us a personal sense of achievement. It motivates person to work hard. Third, everyone's property is no one's responsibility. Means if property is held in common, no one will take care of it. So men of property are men of reason. It is good for state, as those who have property, they will prefer social stability, because revolution will harm property. So it also shows that poor are more inclined towards revolution. So there will be stability. There will be basically a social stability if man has property. And property is also a source of charity. Aristotle's position is that when private property, it gives us so many benefits, then why to deprive ourselves from these benefits? Aristotle, he is not going to support abolition of private property because he believes that private property, it is a time-tested institution. Means it has proved its utility in the past and has many useful purposes. So instead of addressing the problem due to property, Plato ends property itself. However, Aristotle is not politically naive to know the negative consequences. Means Aristotle also knows the negative consequences of property. So if he has given the virtues of property, he also knows what are the vices of property. So what is Aristotle's approach to the vices of property? See, Aristotle, he suggests us to look for the middle path, means golden mean. So how Aristotle applies the principle of golden mean? Basically, Aristotle, he classifies property into two types: just property and unjust property. Just property, which is earned by applying one's labor, and unjust property is usury, means kind of ghuskhori. So why usury is unjust? Because it is earned by exploiting the circumstances of someone who is in distress. So Aristotle, he basically classifies property as animate and inanimate. Aristotle, he suggests that there can be three systems of property. Number one, common ownership, common use. Second, common ownership, individual use. And third, individual ownership and common use. अगर हम पहली वाली देखें, common ownership and common use means communism. Aristotle rejects this because Aristotle says that everyone's property is no one's responsibility, so he rejects this. Second is common ownership and individual use. Aristotle rejects this as well, because if this is illogical according to Aristotle, and if this ever comes in existence, it will be very exploitative. So third, and which Aristotle favors, is individual ownership and common use. So Aristotle prefers this system as best practicable. Advantage of individual ownership is better keep of property, stability, sense of achievement, charity, motivation. And common use means person's property should not be only for his use. Means person should give a part of his property for the welfare of society. As a sense of as a tax or as a charity, people should give his property. So advantage of this individual ownership and common use is that this will reduce property and inequality. Sorry, it will reduce poverty and inequality, and it will bring stability in society. Aristotle he justifies that why man should give a part of his income to society. So he says that because man is a social animal. Man he cannot live without society, and therefore society contributes in the development of man. Therefore man should pay back. Man should pay back to the society. So we can see that it is one of the earliest expression of welfare state. Means take progressive tax and do welfare activities for poor, and earliest expression of trusteeship also. Now if we look at Aristotle on Plato's Communism of Family, so Aristotle is more critical of communism of family in comparison to his communism of property. Aristotle he criticizes Plato. Aristotle says that family role is not just procreation. Family has a very important role. It has the role of emotional stability. It provides basically emotional stability. So family is also a time-tested institution, and Plato's communism of wives is taking us backward in barbaric age, according to Aristotle. Now I'll quickly sum up what we have already discussed. So I'll talk about one of the statements which Aristotle gives regarding his theory of property. So the statement is that it is a difficult business for people to live together, but it is more difficult if it involves property. So this statement is basically from Aristotle's theory of property. So as I've already discussed that Aristotle is a greatest disciple of Plato as well as the greatest critique of Plato. So and Aristotle is not radical like Plato. He believes in moderation. For Aristotle, private property is a time-tested institution because it has its utility like sense of achievement, motivation, social stability, charity, etc. So as I have already told you all that Aristotle has highlighted the negative aspects of communism of property, and that is everyone's property is no one's responsibility. So common ownership, it will give rise to more discords, it will give rise to more problems, and that is why it is a difficult business for people to stay together because it will lead to conflicts. So Aristotle, he proposes individual ownership and common use. And this equation is in accordance to his principle of golden mean. So what are the advantages of individual ownership, which I have already discussed, is better upkeep of property, social stability, sense of achievement, motivation, and source of charity. And why common use? Common use suggests that people must understand their responsibility towards society because man is a social animal. He cannot live without state and society. Therefore, society contributes in the life of man, so it is the responsibility of man also to contribute towards society through charity or through tax. So, what are the advantages of common use? See, advantages of common use is that it will reduce inequality, it will promote peace, it will promote harmony and stability. See, so Aristotle, he basically talks from the perspective of common sense, and hence it is quite difficult to criticize Aristotle. So with this, I've come to the end of my video. I hope you all have understood Plato's theory of communism, and with Plato's theory of communism we could see what was Aristotle's theory of communism, because Aristotle's theory of communism is basically a critique of Plato's theory of communism. I hope I have made my points clear, and I hope you all have understood what I was trying to say through Aristotle's theory of communism. Lastly, I would like to thank Sandhya Verma ma'am for giving me this golden opportunity, and thanks to all the listeners for listening me with patience. I hope you all have understood Aristotle's theory of communism. Thank you. Have a good day.